He's tossed his hat in the ring. He wants to be Kenya's next president of the Federal Party of Kenya, or FPK. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
I'm very happy to be here.
All right.
Yes.
Why are you running for president, Reuben?
Because you're not. You see,
because I'm not running.
Yes. And the point is, we need a fresh start. We need a totally new Kenya that is driven by leaders that have not been in office before. I need to, to make that very clear from the onset, because I think it is insane to keep doing things the same way and then expect different results. We have all these people that have been in office before, promising the same things over and over again, and some of them still in office. And we are still expecting that somehow a miracle will happen, and they will offer the kind of leadership they've promised for ages. So I think it's time to rewrite Kenyan history and rebuild our country from scratch.
All right.
And there's just one big reason. Ever since 1963, we have been trying to eliminate three problems. That is ignorance, poverty, and disease. Our founding fathers told us that. And right through, every government has hitchhiked on that. Now, the amazing thing is that 58 years down the line, we still have those three problems, but now we have a fourth one. And that is corruption and impunity. Now, that has gone through the window. And I don't think any of the candidates that are moving around looking for votes are really open to that particular aspect of solving the fourth major problem of Kenya. And so I'm committed to all the four, and I'm hoping that I can bring to the table a record that is able to tackle these head-on because of the courage and the experiences as a common man that I've had. But I'm also laying my life on the line, saying, examine me. My own faith tells me that accountability is a big thing. You know, that your yes should be yes and your no should be no.
Let's talk about that just a bit, and focus on the issues of, because listening to these presidential candidates you're talking about, they appear to have identified economic recovery as a paramount issue when it comes to the next election. Is that a top agenda?
That's a big lie.
It's a big lie.
It's a huge lie. In fact, if I would be as open as a brother can be to another, the problem of Kenya is not economics. We have a lot of income. We have a lot of money. We have a lot of resources. The problem is that all these resources sneak through a few hands. As JM used to say, you have Kenya of 10 billionaires and 10 million poor people. And that is not acceptable. So the problem really is not economics, it is our values. We have completely lost what it means to be a people of integrity. We can't trust each other. Each time the government gives you a statement, you can't trust it. You always imagine that there's something that is not being said. Every time we investigate a scandal or whatever it is, we never quite see the reports. There is no transparency on projects. SGR, nobody knows who signed the documents, how much it cost, with who. So there is this lack of integrity, lack of accountability. And ironically, Chapter 6 of our Constitution calls for leaders to be elected on the basis of integrity and accountability.
Quite important, and you talk about values, but I'm just wondering, you've had complaints of the skyrocketing and the ballooning cost of living. Obviously, added up with the issues of fuel prices, or the economy has not been doing badly. Reuben, is that just about values?
Yes,
or
it is
a
about
serious underlying problem
it
of
is,
economic?
It is about values because it comes in three arms. One is state capture, where you have an executive that has completely annexed the legislature as well as punished the judiciary in the name of revisiting certain things. So you have a very hypocritical approach, for example, to the fuel crisis, where Parliament passes all these laws and then pretends that they know nothing about it. They're also shocked. So you have that state capture, just pass this, they pass. They pass this, So that's one arm. The other arm is that everything that is spent in Kenya cannot be trusted because it comes with a tinge of corruption. And so whether you're talking about how much a road costs or whether you're talking about vaccines coming into the country, you don't know what is government and what is donation. Then there is a third angle, and that has just emerged recently with the Pandora leaks. And that is, all these offshore bankings that seem to always coincide with aid that is given to the country. If you look at the Africa report that is coming, on the heels of these revelations, they're basically saying every time you receive a donation in Kenya, some money disappears. And the problem is that lack of accountability means that a lot of that money is therefore not taxable. So you don't, people don't pay taxes on all of that. But also it means that instead of investing in the country, some people are investing offshore before we can develop our own country. So if you are going to fix this country, the first thing you need to fix is character. Because if you have people of character in government, then you can trust that your taxes will be safe. You can trust that if money is meant for food or money is meant for medicines, that it will go to that. Otherwise, it will always come to somebody's pocket.
I'm assuming it's good you're talking about values, and I'm just thinking, we elect Reuben Kigame, a man of character and value. How do we instill this in Kenyans? Or you will just end up being the president who has values and character, but your citizens?
Good question. You see, and I want to speak to every Kenyan as clearly as a brother could to another. Now, every time you think about, forming a government in Kenya, like in 2022, come, September of 2022, you have to ask yourself this: who is going to be in government? Because the people who are going to be in government are not appointed at that point of when the CSs and ambassadors and so on are named. The whole process of a bad government begins during the campaign period. And it is because people give candidates money in expectation that if this candidate goes into office, they will get certain positions or tenders. And so the place to start in terms of scrutiny with regard to whether a government will be successful or not is for Kenyans to look at who is spending what and how. The way money is being dished in Kenya, you would think that money falls from the sky. You look at somebody's salary, you look at somebody's businesses, and you wonder, how can one person have so much? So the question is, can we trust that whoever cannot resist illicit money now during the campaign can actually therefore form a government of national unity and a government of meritocracy? That is our problem, because if I give you 10 million for your campaign, you will tell me, don't worry, I'll give you an appointment, either as a CS or a position. And some of these people are not clean. So we're not looking at their character. We need to go right back to this person that is coming in or being named. Can we look back to how they were in high school? Can we look at how they were in college? Can we look at how they have led as a chief or as someone in the village, even, or as a pastor? So if you've been named in taking somebody's money or wife or resources, surely you will take advantage of the nation. There's a preacher who is called D.L. Moody, who used to say, if someone has been stealing bolts and nuts from a railway line, if you take them to school or give them such positions, they'll steal the whole railway line. So the point is, we can't ignore character at all.
We cannot ignore character.
No, and we shouldn't.
Let's talk about you being a religious leader, a gospel musician in the country, and now wanting to run for the highest office. Politics is always said to be dirty and murky. How are you going to maneuver that?
So first of all, politics is said to be dirty because those in it are dirty, not because politics itself is dirty. I mean, if it was, then how how would you explain the fact that in Zambia we have Seventh-day Adventist who is a president, and in Malawi next door you have Chakwera who was an Assemblies of God president? How would you explain the fact that there are Muslim countries that are led by people that are religious? So you can't divorce religion from politics. In fact, religion does sanitize. In fact, religion can sanitize politics or clean it up. So what we need right now is people of value. And once you become a president, by the way, you don't become a president for religious people only. Even those without faith, even those who are seeking, you have to be the president of all.
A quick follow-up on that, Reuben, because you've been in this country, and there's no time the church has stood in the dock. Like probably the last 6 or 7 years, or the church is accused of being compromised probably by agents of state, or becoming fence sitters on issues of national importance. Your word.
So on the one hand, I think it's unfair to say that of the church, because sometimes because you expect the church to speak a particular way, when they don't, you imagine that they're quiet. And sometimes, there are people who've been speaking, we ignore, and then we say the church is not speaking. I think it's unfair. But on the other hand, I would say that the church has always spoken. In fact, in 2007, they raised a presidential candidate. And, you've had Christians running, Muslims running. So religion has been part and parcel of our political discourse all through. It's just we hypocritical Kenyans imagine that there are no religious people that can lead. In fact, every time I step out and say I'm running, the average Kenyan tells me, remember what happens to Pius Mwiru. And I ask them, but I'm not Mwiru. But on the other hand, what do you say of people who refuse to elect Mwiru, and what do you get for it? Post-election violence, isn't it? So what is that? Right. But on the other hand, so it's not actually Mwiru who failed to offer himself. It is Kenyans who didn't elect him. But what would you say of Mwiru himself calling me a few weeks ago at his church and saying, Reuben, I tried, and I put the key in ignition, and I started off with the first gear. Now please take it from there and take it uphill.
Wow, fantastic.
So that kind of endorsement, and people are still like, remember what happened to Mwiru? And that is the only tired line people give me. Why don't they look at Reuben Kigame, the teacher at Mary Hill High School, the teacher at Africa International University, the media person who ran media for 10 years, who's been broadcasting in different media? Why don't they look at Reuben, the
in that way?
How come you always? And by the way, we always seem to look at people by virtue of negation or failure. I don't know why we don't look at the success lines or positive. How come I can sit here with you as a completing PhD student, and people just imagine, I sing 24 hours. So it's nothing wrong with singing.
Less than a minute, because I need to wind
somehow we put people in a box.
I need to wind up, Reuben, in less than a minute.
Yes.
The voter registration is ongoing.
Yes.
I'm sure obviously you want to appeal to young voters who've been called.
Absolutely. I've been talking to them. In fact, I don't know.
Your clarion call, finally. Yes.
So I don't know why IEBC in particular has not been particularly vocal this time in preparing the country for this particular 30-day registration. That is a failure on Chebukati and his team.
All right.
And so we are now doing catch-up. And when I hear the IEBC talk, it's like, Kenyans are not turning out. You haven't told them there's anything. So most of them are being caught unawares. But secondly, now that the voter registration is on, I'm hoping that as many young people as possible, almost 70% of this country's population, I'm hoping that they will give a chance to somebody with fresh ideas, who built on integrity, and someone that understands the youth much, much more than any of these leaders that are going around.
Right.
These people, by the way, don't even respect the law.
Okay.
That's why they are super spreaders of COVID. They can't even keep their own law. So let's have people of values come in and show you how we can rebuild Kenya, not just for ourselves, but for posterity.
All right. Fantastic conversation with Reuben Kigame, running for president on an FPK ticket, the Federal Party of Kenya.
Actually, I might be changing, but I will be announcing that pretty soon. Yes.
His mind quite sharp and upright. Will assist of the issues in the country. Thank you very much, Reuben, for coming tonight.
And by the way, you look good.
Thank you. Interesting. Let me hand you back to Safira Cheng, and we'll continue with the day's news.